Present.
Mencia.
Present.
Shirley present. Reed.
Present.
Sager.
Present.
And Schumacher. Present.
Hey, everyone, just make sure you speak loudly into the mics again as a reminder so everyone can hear you. And turn to mine first. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I think this is probably the best part a school board member gets to do. Some recognition and presentation to retiring staff members and members that are receiving awards. So at this point, I think the first person we'd like to recognize is Sarah Magnifici. Please stand. And I got a little thing to read for you. Congratulations to Sarah for being awarded a Golden Apple Award for Excellence in Teaching. The Golden Apple Award honors outstanding teachers for having lasting, positive effect on students' lives and school communities. Teacher recipients demonstrate in their teaching and results a significant positive impact on their students' growth and learning. Sarah is one of 10 teachers in Illinois selected for the award out of a record-setting 708 nominations. In our district's website article celebrating Sarah, Golden Apple President Alan Mather described what impressed the organization about Sarah and her approach to students, including what was written in the initial nomination letter from an Admiral Byrd parent. We are thrilled that we were able to recognize the incredible work she does, he said. As we learned from her father as well, she was born to teach. She believes in every student and teaching the whole child. She understands that addressing social, emotional issues is how you get to where you want to go, and celebrates her students' differences. It shows she has growth mindset about everyone, including herself. And as a side note, Sarah was also finalist for Illinois Teacher of the Year in 2018. We're incredibly proud of her work with the family, students, and staff. Congratulations, Sarah, on another well-deserved recognition. Next, Julie, can you please stand? Julie's here with her husband, Gary, who I just met.
Welcome, Gary.
Welcome. Congratulations to Julie for being awarded the 2021 Illinois Adaptive PE Teacher of the Year. Each year, the Illinois Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance received nominations for the top physical educators across Illinois and selects a Teacher of the Year in multiple categories. Last month, IAHPERD announced that Julie has been chosen as the 2021 Adaptive PE Teacher of the Year. In our recent district website article, Julie shared the importance of relationships she has developed as a result of being active with IAHPERD. Throughout this pandemic, not a day has gone by that my phone is not filled with messages from a wonderful group of PE students scattered all around the state. We have gotten each other through some of the most challenging times of teaching, all while sparking ideas in one another's minds to keep PE learning focused, active, fun, and engaging. For those who know her, the news of the award comes as little surprise. Her passion for teaching, particularly PE, began at a young age when she would set up obstacle courses for her sisters in class. She considers the opportunity to give her students an enjoyable experience in physical education to be priceless and tries to reflect that in her activities each day. Congratulations, Julie, on a well-deserved award and recognition.
Good evening. My name is Ross Fattori. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, and I am so thrilled to see people in person. In District 59, we take great pride in honoring our staff members who honor our students and our community members every day. With the pandemic, we had to say goodbye to some of those traditions, and it was only a few weeks ago that we thought, well, maybe we could do something through Zoom. Oh, goodness. And then just within the last week or so, we thought, it looks like we're going to at least be able to make an opportunity for some of our staff members to come in with us today. So thank you for doing that. Some of the RSVPs that we know, they're already very far from here in really fun places. And can you blame them? They have earned it. This year, in terms of years of service and retirees, there are 184 staff members who have reached those milestones. There were 50 staff members who hit the 5-year mark, and that's a big year. Congratulations to them. I'm sure they're all watching, those 5-year staff members. They're watching on YouTube. The 10-year mark was reached by 34 staff members this year. 15 years, 27 staff members. 20 years, 26 staff members hit 20 years experience. We had 8 teammates reach the 25-year mark. We had 8 colleagues reach the 30-year mark. And this year we had 1 teammate reach 35 years. She isn't here tonight, but that is Lori Schumacher. She is a teacher at Grove. So congratulations to Lori. All in, that's over 2,500 years of experience. And that is something that we're very proud of in District 59. With that, I'd like to read some names and present some certificates. Mr. Luloff, if you would help me distribute the flowers. If you have a color preference, please text it to Tom now. This first individual reaches 25 years this year. It's a teaching assistant that has worked at both Jay and Salt Creek, and that is Maria Reyna. Congratulations. That is the dedication of a District 59 staff member right there. Thank you. This next individual, quite honestly, I was surprised when I saw this name on the list for 25 years, and because I have known and worked with this person a long time, and I think I still feel like I'm at that 10-year mark. This person has been a teacher in District 59, an administrator, has worked at Grove, Friendship, Bird, and Forest View. That individual is Emily Wammel. Congratulations. That is a sign of a great teacher right there. I mean, that's as good as it gets. Nice job, Ben. For 30 years, I guess all of these names are shocking to me. I need to get used to that. This next teacher has spent 30 years at Devonshire School. I remember my first official teaching job in this district. I remember looking down the hall and being impressed with this teacher. That is Becky Martin. Congratulations, Becky. Oh my gosh, I didn't plan these remarks. I'll stop. But this person, 30 years as a teacher at Forest View, I remember student teaching and being impressed by that staff, including this amazing teacher, Lynn Kudla. Congratulations, Lynn. Another 30-year staff member at Forest View. That is amazing, and that is wonderful. I don't know if we'll see that too often in education moving forward. This is a teaching assistant, Miriam Marabani. I don't know if I see Miriam tonight, but Miriam, if you're watching at home, congratulations. Tremendous job. This is another teacher who has hit the 30-year milestone in District 59, a teacher that has been at, I believe, Jay, Bird, Devonshire, and Frost. And that is Ann Spangler. Congratulations, Ann. And now for some individuals who are retiring. We're so proud of them. We're so excited for them. As sad as we are to see them leave our team, we are so happy for them as they start this next chapter. And remember, you can sub every day in District 59. Send me an email, find me on Twitter. We'll get you here. This first individual has been in District 59 with us as a parent for many years, as a custodian the past 8. He has supported Devonshire and most recently Brentwood. His name is Mark Wren. Mark, thank you for your service. If Roxanne's watching, I did not just advise her husband to bring those home to her. This next individual has served 12 years in District 59. He is a teacher that has been at both Jay and Rupley. And again, thank you for your service. This is for Johnny Melendez. I don't see Johnny. Johnny, if you're at home, thank you so much. This next individual, 18 years as a teacher in District 59. Many of these individuals have also served in other schools in our state and out of our state. 18 years at Ridge, that is Donna Johnson. Congratulations to Donna. "19 years in District 59 at Grove Junior High as a teacher, Maria Ives. Thank you, Maria. This next teacher is a fine arts staff member, has worked in District 59 for 23 years, all, I believe, at Forest View, and her name is Maura Birdie. Congratulations, Maura. This next individual has worked in District 59 for 23 years. She's been an administrator at both the school and district level, began at Rupley, and then was at Salt Creek, and then she has been at the district office. All in 23 years. I think she did about 50 years worth of work during that time. If you've seen her in action, congratulations to Maureen McAbee. Technically, she's not done till the end of the month. Yeah. No, there's still time to teach me a trick or two. This next individual has worked 27 years in District 59 at Devonshire Elementary School as a teaching assistant. This is Veronica Baudette. Congratulations, Veronica. Okay, this next one, I might need a little help with the work history. 30 years in District 59, a teacher, has worked at John Jay, and then as an LBS, serving a number of our schools, Salt Creek, Bird, Rupley, Frost, and Juliet Lowe. That is Maria Jarvis. Congratulations. Oh, there you go. Congratulations. This next staff member has given 34 years to District 59. He's been a teacher at Forest View, Ridge, and the Early Learning Center. Congratulations to Jeannie Bidlack. And the last person in person is a person named Mary Ellen Esser. Mary Ellen has been a teacher, an administrator, powerhouse. She's worked at Brentwood, Claremont, Holmes, Byrd, and probably every building with summer school. Ridge has done, she's worked in District 59 for 35 years, and we're going to miss her. Congratulations, Mary Ellen. Give those to your mom later. Again, I want to thank everyone watching at home for all that they give to District 59 every day, especially our honorees who hit their milestones. We also celebrate them throughout the year in different ways, and especially to our honorees who gave us the time to come tonight and to also remind us during what is probably one of the most challenging years we'll ever have in education. There is always time. A teacher always finds time to stop and celebrate and smile. Thank you. Have a great retirement. Everyone else, we'll see you in the fall.
So with that, we're going to take a quick transition break. So those who want to remain for the meeting, feel free to do so. Those who want to stand up and take a couple of minutes and maybe with some social distancing can congratulate one another. We'll take about a 3-minute transition break here, and then we'll proceed to our discussion items following that.
Thank you, Dr. Fessler. And Justin, if you can try to rally up this group for an awesome picture, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Mr. Reed. Thank you guys, Board of Education, Dr. Fessler. We'd like to go over the 21-22 budget and the preliminary guide. So the first major slide here are the major dates that we are looking to follow. So for example, today we're going to review this tentative budget and we'll look into utilizing a resolution for the public display. July 1st, we're going to, of course, start the fiscal year, and then we'll place it on display. Illinois code requires a budget to be placed on display for 30 days, but we're going to do just a little bit more than that. August 2nd, we'll meet up again and review any changes. And then hopefully, once we're all completed, on August 9th, we'll have a final budget adoption. So this slide here is an example of the revenues that District 59 receives. So you see the local, state, and federal levels. For the local, property taxes is the main amount of dollars. However, we do receive corporate personal property replacement taxes. They are collected by the state, and they're paid to the local governments to replace money that was lost by local governments when their powers to impose personal property taxes on corporations were taken away back in 1979. So we still see a decent amount of dollars from that. There are still district fees, donations and grants, like the District 59 Foundation, and interest earnings from our banks. As for the state, the state, I apologize. The state evidence-based funding is our major piece. We receive approximately $12 million, and we'll talk more about that in a few. Preschool for All grant, transportation grants, and anything else that the state may come up with. And then, of course, federal, you're looking at elementary and secondary school emergency relief, otherwise known as ESSER 2 for this year, the American Rescue Plan, which is the ARP, Individuals with Disabilities and Education Act, which is early intervention and special education, Medicaid, meal programs, and there are other federal grants that may come to the table. So here are some of the highlights. Local revenues are typically 81% of District 59's dollars that come in. However, this year we'll experience quite a change because ESSER 2 and the ARP are going to be about 7% of our budget. Typically, our tax levy receipts are at 23% from 2020 that come into this fiscal year. In 2021, the remaining, this will be 77%. We also saw that the CPI was at 1.4% for December, so that is something that we have to keep in mind, and a 2.61% increase in the equalized assessed value of our properties. Now, that also is an estimate. We didn't change any increases from a previous year's budget of corporate personal property taxes because those are kind of an unknown. You don't know really much until you see how the economy has bounced back. And then this year, we keep in mind that for next year, school fees are waived. As for the state, there is evidence-based funding formula from ISB. We actually have heard that Illinois General Assembly is adding approximately $350 million to the state budget for school funding. So that will contribute more to what we're normally used to. Also, CCSD59 is a Tier 3 school out of 4 tiers, which means that we are more property tax reliant. And then, of course, the other state grants and categorical grants we've had flattened. Federal grants, you see there that it says federal revenue is flat. However, President Biden is asking for a major increase in the education budget. But again, it's just an ask. We can't assume anything until it's passed. ESSER 2 and ARP have been tremendous for us. You're looking at between the two of them, ARP is $4 million in this budget, although we have $8.6 million assigned to us for this. When one looks at our operating funds and the revenues that come to us, you see that property taxes are prevalent. Also, the other local revenues can be the CPPRT money or fees. I also separated the federal revenues there from the ESSER and ARP money to show the impact of COVID-19 dollars on our budget, and that's 7% there. If you added it with the 5% for the federal revenue there, that's already 12%. As for expenses, there are these are the major categories. Of course, we have salaries and benefits, purchase services such as contracted services or any professional learning, supplies, which are typically consumables, equipment, that's anything that's over $500 we typically label. And then when there's an other, if you ever see that, that's tuition and fees. So the expense highlights, well, we're reflecting classroom needs. We've been able to talk a lot with every building, with SLT. We've also had increases based on contracted and negotiated agreements, which would be not only from our employees, but also from any sort of contracts that we have with vendors. This also includes resignations and retirements, and additional FTE based on our resource allocation plan. Benefits, we've learned that our medical PPO is going up 4%. Our medical HMO is flat, as is our dental. Life, we're getting some final numbers. Our TRS for the state is flat, and our federal TRS is actually decreasing 0.1%, which may not sound like a lot, but it can add up quickly. As for purchase services, we see an increase in food service of 1.4%. We've also added in anything from the resource allocation into these purchase services. There's also workers' comp that went up 4.16%, which is actually, very good for this economy at this time. Supplies, we're looking at the technology financial management plan. We know that that's going to be, it's included. And we're trying to continue supplemental instructional materials so that kids are not affected by with COVID. As for other, we normally look at legislation changes to the public pension systems, but there wasn't anything that has been enacted. O&M, there are same thing, increases based on contracted agreements, salary estimates. It does include resignations and retirements and no new positions for the O&M staff. And it's the same with benefits. It's 4% for medical PPO, and the other benefits are flat with life to be determined. Purchase services, we're looking at an increase in the workers' comp, just like we did in the Ed Fund, as well as other purchase services line items that may or may not increase. I mean, we are trying to plan for COVID-19, considering we've all seen what kind of surprise it's been. Supplies, we've seen an increase in gas and natural gas, increase in electrical costs. Equipment, we have regularly scheduled for the purchase of 2 maintenance vehicles. And I think the major highlight we'll see is that the capital improvement projects, they are now being moved to the 60 fund so that they can be planned for down the line, and we can split up what we have in terms of the building compared to what day-to-day operations are in the 20 fund. Transportation, again, staffing and salaries is based on contracted agreements, and the benefits are similar than the other two. Excuse me. However, purchase services are the difference here. So transportation contracts, there was previously a 2-year extension for Reg Ed and Special Ed, and they were 5% increases per year. Supplies, we're looking at increases for gasoline, and we are also planning transportation as if it is a normal school year. It's not just one where we're anticipating routes getting cut and whatnot. Our debt service fund, we have the 2014, 2015, and 2020 bonds. There are going to be 2 of them that will retire in fiscal year 22, which is the 2014 and 2015 debt issuance. The 2021 was not going to retire until fiscal year 28. But whatever we get from that fund, we're going to transfer its interest to the Ed fund so that it can supplement anything that comes out of there, because that is our biggest fund. We're still waiting on our IMRF rates for IMRF and Social Security. On our working cash interest, we will transfer that earnings to the O&M fund. To me, the capital projects fund, capital improvement, capital projects fund is one of the highlights that this district can work with. So the list of the projects right now being anticipated is $3,011,924. That's the secured entrances, any security camera updates at all school sites, water fountain upgrades at all school sites, and PA system upgrades at 2 sites. That is all paid for out of the 60 fund that we've planned for accordingly. So that will be out of the operating fund, and it's straight to our buildings. As for the health, life, safety, the approximate remainder of the approved projects for phase 2 with CTS is $10,171,583. And then we would see the HLS, Health, Life, Safety Fund, dry up. Our operating fund's expenses haven't really changed much, though. If you look at the salaries and benefits, taking up the majority. Purchase services being 12%. Any sort of supplies and materials being 4%. And then if we have any sort of capital outlay, any additional items that are above that $500 threshold, it's typically 1%. But the operating funds do not include the 60 fund. So here is the slide everybody wants to see. Overall, the district operating budget is in the positive at $244,000 with preliminary numbers. So it's a balanced budget. The district has been extremely efficient. And I might also add, that this does not account for $4.6 million of the ARP funds, because the whole intent of it is for us to plan it accordingly and not just try and spend. We've been very good at that. This district is very good at planning, and it shows. So that's where we're still working out the details. And so hopefully people do understand that the district has done a great job being healthy and prudent with its dollars.
So Ron, to be clear, you're saying that the ARP dollars and the ESSER dollars are not part of this budget. They're outside of that. So those are additional dollars that we'll have access to?
The ESSER 2 is included in the budget, which is $3.8 million. And then the ARP dollars is $8.6 million. We have about $4 million of that earmarked for this budget, and then the remaining $4.6 million that will be in years to come. So when we talk about our long-term plans, it's again monitoring with SLT on key performance indicators, staying abreast of emerging issues, especially with legislation. We've seen it change so often. And we'll continue to update our assumptions as they change. We're going to look at if all assumptions holds true, okay, we're in a good spot, but we have to continue protecting our facilities. I know Alberti Arena has worked really well with Eleni Bahanu on making sure that we do have a facilities plan that should be coming up soon.
Hey Ron, compared to last year, what were the revenue numbers last year? Was it 110? Was there an increase? What was that amount increase compared to last year?
It was approximately 106 million.
Okay.
The ARP and the ESSER 2 money really they increased what we've received. We plan on receiving.
Ron, do you want to mention anything about the evidence-based funding model and it actually being potentially passed this year, those additional 350?
Absolutely. So the district currently receives approximately $12 million from the state. With evidence-based funding potentially having another $350 million inserted into that budget that's trying to be passed with ISB and Illinois General Assembly, I can't figure out yet just how much money that will include, but we will see an increase in that as well. So, and those numbers are not included in this. So anything above that $12 million is additional revenues for our district.
And Ron, over the course of the year, what was that estimated amount of like the unexpected COVID costs? Were we at like about 2 million or so?
It's about, I have to look at the spreadsheet we have built together,
Yeah.
but for any budget, it really changes the game, and it's been a blessing that we do have some of these federal revenues.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a challenging question also because there were a lot of expenditures that we didn't have to fulfill as a result of COVID.
Right.
Then factor in the ESSER dollars, but we did spend a lot of additional money trying to support our curriculum work, our teachers, our students, and families during the pandemic. So it is a little bit of a moving target that would probably take a little bit of work to try
Sure.
to figure out what the true impact was.
No, because I'm looking at it more of a very large amount of unexpected costs due to the unexpected nature of everything that happened this year. But then also landing in a situation the way we're landing here with the 244. So give or take, that we're not, we're doing things properly. We're doing things the right way with money.
Part of it, I believe, is when the district went out to get those phase 1 and 2s done with the indoor air quality. That really alleviated a lot of issues. I'm presenting at IASBO on Wednesday, and the colleague that I'm presenting with, he's actually at Wilmette. They received a total, after all 3 packages, of $900,000. And yet they've spent well over $3 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Ron, as we know, there are 3 different relief packages. We had ESSER 1, which we took care of, and we spent most of that already. I think the thing that we need to realize is that the money that we're getting, we actually don't get it until we file for it, and we have to show expenses. And we're limited on what we're allowed to spend that money on. I think this ARP one really has some more constraints on there from a perspective of, for student learning loss and stuff like that, where the first couple were a little more free on what we could use the money for. And I think the goal is we're trying to use the money, I think, properly and effectively, where a lot of districts are spending that money completely upfront right away and using it all. We have, 3 years to spend it, I believe?
Yeah, for the ARP,
2024.
yeah, so
2024.
the ARP money is at least 20% of it has to be funded for learning loss, socio-emotional learning, equity, and facility needs. But the 20% is the learning loss specifically.
Yeah. Okay, so just so I get it, and just to clarify then, so the ARP, American Rescue Plan, that money, we can spend it, but we spend it first, and then basically we're reimbursed for it, right? So then it's, okay.
And so you look at our numbers, receiving over $13 million, and then you see other districts, like I said, with Wilmette receiving 900,000.
Yeah.
It gives us a lot of opportunity to assist our kids with making things better.
So then going forward, as we make these expenditures, we would know, and the public would know, we are going to buy X, and it's going to be ARP dollars that are paying for X. So everybody's on the same page with it's not coming, it's basically funded, is basically the point I'm making.
Well, at the finance, finance committee meeting, we actually discussed the opportunity to write down, okay, here's what the dollars are, here's what we've spent on them, and it's going to be part of the grant anyways.
Sure.
And that's when I know that in the last update, I put something together that is a starting point for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are specifically one-time expenses, right? Because this is a one-time pool of money coming in, one-time expenses going out, but everything else will balance long term.
That is correct.
That brings up a great point. So we have to be careful that knowing this is one-time money and we're not going to get it.
Don't rely
again,
on it in the future.
Don't
yes.
rely on it in the future. So that's part of it's part of the budgeting process and stuff like that, we have to be careful of.
Yeah.
Like we have talked about, we approved those FTEs for math interventionists for the schools. That is not going to be considered part of ARP, we don't think yet, because we want to keep those within the schools. And that's part of the original budget, I believe. But don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I wasn't going to disagree with that, but I was going to share that, some school districts like Elgin, they actually hired 41-year positions. So they want to try, and that's that 20% that is required to try to address the learning loss or the learning gap. So some school districts have used it for that. Others have actually used it to increase salaries now. But to your point, Joe, that will have a negative impact down the road because those are not reoccurring dollars.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I think we've been, in all of our conversations and planning, very aware that these are non-reoccurring dollars and planning accordingly.
So I just want to clarify on the federal funds that are included in this year's budget. Did I understand correctly that of ESSER 2, 3.8 million is in this upcoming budget? And so I guess what I would just be interested to understand as a follow-up to Robert's question is how much of that is related to these COVID-specific expenses and how much of that is ongoing operational costs such that next fiscal year, if we don't have those federal funds?
I can actually tell you that we have the technology refresh that fell under that, the equity audit. We have different library and classroom books, different Tier 3 intervention materials, dual language learning loss evaluations, and then so right now that's kind of where we're finalizing it at.
Yeah, the significant one is the technology refresh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Ron.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ron, can I ask one more question? I'm sorry to cut you off. Your last point was about just the long-term facilities update. You mentioned that would maybe be forthcoming from Albert and other colleagues, and you as well. This summer, or just getting a sense of, because I'm just interested in the bigger picture of now that we're working on these capital projects right now, what do we see down the pipeline in the next 10 years, 5 to 10 years?
Well, there's a lot of upkeep, that's for sure. I think that when Joe and I were looking through it. It was almost $40 million, I believe it was, in 10 years. It was give or take. I don't quote me on that, but we can show it. We can definitely. It's a great work where you just click on that year. It tells you every single breakdown of what needs fixing, which building, where it falls into. They've done a great job with it. So, I know that Randy has done a tremendous job in the facilities committee, making sure that, that everything gets updated as things come along, so that whenever the time comes, we can talk about that.
I think we need to add it as an agenda item for the whole committee, for the whole board to see, and for the community to see as well, too.
Excellent.
So, think of July or August.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ron. All right, we're on to the next part, the publics and suggestions from the public. We have no one listed here to speak. Before we start, I know there are some people that will want to speak today, but we need to make a public comment to start. Although comments may be made on almost any matter related to the operations of schools, comments will not be allowed concerning individual students or staff members. Any comments related to individual students or staff should be addressed with the superintendent. Please limit your individual comments to 3 minutes. A board member will serve as keeper and will give the speaker notice when there are 30 seconds remaining to allow the speaker time to complete or summarize their thoughts. The board's attorney has advised the board to maintain a consistent rule regarding the length of time an individual may take to address the Board of Education. Doing so safeguards the freedom of speech rights of each speaker to be treated equally. If one person is granted additional time, then all speakers henceforth will need to be treated similarly. This is a business meeting of the Board of Education, and the board must conduct its business in public and must complete that business in a timely manner. If you wish to provide written comments to the board, they will be included in the meeting minutes. Such meetings are not held for discussions with the public. While it is a practice of the board not to respond to your public questions or comments during the meeting, board members do listen attentively and carefully and consider the thoughts and topics you present. So I'm going to check and see if there are any public comments that came in, and then we'll open it up to anybody else. Yes, please. Okay, there are no public comments on the commuter. Is anybody from the community ready to speak? Come up, Mary.
In a conversation that I had with my sister, I was telling her about my continued involvement in District 59 matters. She said to me, "Mary, why does this matter? I wouldn't waste time on a district if I didn't live there anymore." No, my sister would not continue to be involved, and I guess most people wouldn't either. But when you care about kids and want to work to improve the education for all kids, you stay involved no matter where you live. I emailed Randy and I CC'd all the board members about my questions on the deal between District 59 and NSSEO. Randy, I'm just not sure why you didn't respond to me. At the May 3rd board meeting, the District 59 board voted unanimously to approve paying NSSEO the money that Art Fessler is owed because he has unused vacation days. This deal would help the superintendent get the days he needs to collect his full pension. Former President Krinsky stated that this was a good deal for District 59. It would save us lots of money. Board member Robert Mancia, he addressed the audience and he also explained why it was good for District 59. Since then, we've learned that an NSSEO board member said he didn't know about NSSEO hiring Dr. Fessler until he read it in the paper. District 214 board members and the 214 superintendent were quoted in the paper saying that they didn't approve of this deal because it wasn't the right thing to do. If you care about kids, shouldn't you post the job, interview qualified candidates, and then hire the best one? Then I come to find out that District 59 had another option to save money. To the administration, couldn't the district have saved money and avoided the state penalty if they just paid Art Fessler for his unused days after his last paycheck and his last day of work. If that was an option, why wasn't that presented at the public meeting? Why were some 59 folks involved in helping the superintendent land another job? Did the board even ask if there was another way for the district to save money besides going through NSSEO? Well, this deal is dead, but what can we learn? I learned that some folks, all of whom are supposed to work for the taxpayers, were more interested in helping somebody
30
land a
seconds.
job so he could collect his full pension. I do not know which board members knew or did they know about option 2, but in the very least, you should have asked some questions. This whole affair is really disheartening for someone like me who believes in government and that most people will do the right thing. The deal between NSSEO and District 59 is an example of local government at its worst. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Come on up, Dan.
Dan Mikowski. Some of the comments that I have are similar to what Mary just had, but so on May 3rd, an item, 7.02 was the vacation payment approval for Superintendent Fessler. And on the exhibit, it says that to facilitate the employment by the North Suburban Special Education Organization. Once again, this was presented as saving a lot of money, but it seems kind of interesting that we're talking, a $10,000 penalty potentially, when we have millions of dollars in bonds. We had a bloated administration over the years, while there was no curriculum for the children, and I personally experienced that. On May 14th, the Daily Herald, kind of explained a lot of this information that District 214 found out in a newspaper, and that the agreement was stopped. And, it wasn't just to save money, it was to maximize the superintendent's retirement pension. So on May 20th, the Daily Herald had an editorial about the corruption in Illinois, the behind-the-scenes maneuvering for such deals like this, and it's all negative publicity for District 59. So my point is, Superintendent Fessler is due whatever he's due based on the contract. That's not the point. Is those couple $1,000s, was it worth the all the bad publicity that the district got and the bad name that it has? We have enough issues with the test scores and the reputation about the education. This was not necessary. In 24 days, on July 1st, we'll have a new superintendent. The district deserves better, so similar action. Ask questions about what's being done, because we don't know what you know, but some of this stuff needs to be out in the open. It's the taxpayers' money. And lastly, you have to put the students and the residents of this district first. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Has anyone else come to speak to the board? Come on up, Sharon.
Being the first time on this side, Sharon Roberts, 1019 South Lancaster Street, Mount Prospect. Dr. Fessler, with your endless energy and enthusiasm, in 2012, the District 59 School Board unanimously voted to offer you the position of superintendent. I was proud then, and I am still proud today, to have been one of those votes. I'd like to recognize you for some of the major achievements during your tenure, and these are in no particular order, except maybe the first one, which is right out of the gate, before your contract had officially started, you spent over 100 hours of your own time getting to know board members, visiting schools, meeting staff and administrators. You focused on developing relationships. The SLT, the Superintendent Strategic Leadership Team. Most organizations having difficulty managing the white space in the organization. And what I mean by that is that most organizations are very vertical. One department doesn't necessarily know what the other one is doing. But because you held weekly SLT meetings and required that ongoing and new initiatives had to be discussed at these meetings, no department could go rogue. As a result, each department lead understood the big picture of what was happening in each of the other departments. This allowed each SLT member to make changes in their own departments as needed. This may seem like a simple thing, but so many organizations do not do this. Thank you for managing the white space in District 59. Your vision, backed by research that focused on developing our students on becoming happy and successful citizens, a vision that allowed our students to explore and discover for themselves what interests and passions were within them, a vision that didn't simply see them as a standardized test score. You believed to your core in preparing students to be successful for life, the District 59 mission. Ongoing training for staff. On more than one occasion, you came to the board with a plan to divert funds from one area to provide more training opportunities for staff. Whether it was bringing in national education experts or allowing more time for job-alikes, your focus on providing support for our staff was a non-negotiable for
30
you.
seconds.
You brought a much stronger focus to the social and emotional needs of our students. You hired the right people and provided ongoing training for our staff that continues to this day. Completing major construction projects while maintaining the health of the district's fund balances, which continue to be very strong today. And as far as I know, we continue to have a AAA bond rating. These projects allowed us to centralize our preschool program and brought full-day kindergarten to all elementary schools. May I have someone finish for me?
Yes, you may.
Start right there.
Marlene Pasjo, Education Foundation. These are Sharon's words, but it's the feeling of many people in the district. Sure thing. Is that better? Okay. Let's talk negotiations. All the negotiations under your leadership culminated in not only short time frames, but also both sides shook hands with smiles on their faces. In fact, in the last certified negotiation, the IEA rep said she had never experienced such a smooth and respectful negotiation. Technology. Dr. Fessler, when you came to the district, the lack of reliable technology was the #1 complaint that I heard from staff. Once again, you hired the right people, and what was once a major issue in the district disappeared as a problem. The branding of District 59 was sorely needed. I always loved that the kids got to vote on what mascots each school wanted to adopt. From the website to PTO clothing items to electronic templates to internal and external signage and much more, all District 59 schools can feel being a part of the District 59 family. Dr. Fessler, you also placed a higher priority on community relationships. You took a sincere interest and actively supported the District 59 Education Foundation, for which I personally thank you, and the Character Counts organization of Elko Township. You also strengthened the district's relationships with the support agencies of local cities and villages. It can't go left unsaid that you led the district and community in the development of a new strategic plan. There is not enough time to list all the accomplishments under your leadership. This is just a sampling. You came to District 59 and found a district of schools. You should be very proud that you turned us into a school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Has anyone else come to speak before the board? Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make the motion. This is Courtney. I move to approve the consent agenda, including 7.01, approval of minutes prior meetings, 7.02, disbursements resolution, 7.03, acceptance of financial reports, 7.04, acceptance of recommendations human resources report, and 7.05, approval to destroy 18-month-old or older closed session recordings.
Any questions, comments?
Just one thing that I was going to mention, that Diana Eldridge just turned in her retirement papers, and that came as a real shock. She's been such a staple of the administration. She's been such a staple at the administration building that I know we're all going to miss her. So just wanted to comment on Diane Eldridge and what she has done for us.
Thank you. I saw that too, and I was like kind of shocked too.
Mm-hmm.
Ready?
Roll call.
Mencia. Aye. Contrary, aye. Reed.
Aye.
Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher.
Aye.
And Lang.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
All right, can I get a motion for action item 8.01?
I'll do this. Be it resolved that on the 7th day of June, 2021, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education resolves that the fiscal year for Community Consolidated School District 59, Cook County, Illinois, be and hereby is established as commencing on July 1st, 2021 and ending on June 30th, 2022. Be it further resolved that the public hearing on the tentative budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 be set for 6 p.m. Monday, August 2nd, 2021 at the Administration Center in Elk Grove Village, and that proper notice of said hearing and of the availability of the budget for public inspection be given by the Secretary of this Board of Education by publishing notice thereof at least 30 days prior to August 2nd, 2021 in the Journal and Topics, a newspaper published in this district, which notice shall be substantially in the following form as presented in this motion.
I'll second it.
Questions, comments? Okay, roll call.
Petrielli, aye. Reed.
Aye.
Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
And Mencia.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
Action item 8.02, approval of determination of serious safety hazards related to student transportation.
I can make the motion. Be it resolved that on the 7th day of June, 2021, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education, in accordance with School Code 105, Illinois Statutes 5-29-3, determines the following areas as serious safety hazards in accordance with guidelines promulgated by the Illinois Department of Transportation in consultation with the Illinois State Board of Education, and those areas are as presented in this motion, the list.
I'll second it. Roll call.
Reed.
Aye.
Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Mencia.
Aye.
Petrielli, aye. And the motion passes.
8.03, approval of food service contract renewal for 2021, 2022, lunch and breakfast programs. I'll go ahead and take that one. I'll make the motion. Be resolved that the 7th day of June, 2021, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education renew the contract with Organic Life, 430 West Erie Street, Suite 403, Chicago, Illinois, to provide meals for the 2021 school year at the following rates listed below.
I'll second.
Any questions or?
I guess just a reminder that we had the opportunity to extend for one additional year, and that's what this is.
Yes, based on, for COVID.
Yep.
Normally this year we would have had, we've already extended them out past I think the 2 years we had done it prior to that, so we're allowed one more year from the state to renew this contract. Roll call.
Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Mencia.
Aye.
Petrielli, aye. And Reed.
Aye.
And I'll make the next one. Whereas
Okay.
the board is required to appoint a school treasurer effective July 1st, 2021, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Community Consolidated School District Number 59, Cook County, Illinois, as follows. Section 1, the board incorporates the foregoing paragraphs of this resolution as if set forth fully herein. Section 2, the board hereby appoints Assistant Superintendent for Business Services, CSBO, Ron O'Connor, as school treasurer effective July 1st, 2021. Section 3, commencing with the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021, the board shall appoint a school treasurer in accordance with Section 5/8-1C of the Illinois School Code. This resolution shall be in full force and effect upon its passage.
I'll second.
Questions? Anybody have any questions? Roll call?
Schumacher,
Aye.
Lang,
Aye.
Mencia,
Aye.
Petrielli, aye. Reed,
Aye.
and Sager.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
All right, I'll get the next one, too. Whereas the board is required to approve the school treasurer's bond, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Community Consolidated School District Number 59, Cook County, Illinois, as follows. Section 1, the board incorporates the foregoing paragraphs of this resolution as if set forth fully herein. Section 2, the board hereby approves the school treasurer's bond as presented from July 1st, 2021 to July 1st, 2022, in the amount of $63,319,843 as presented. This Section 3, this resolution be in full force and effect upon its passage. That's a lot of money.
Courtney.
Any questions or comments?
Did you second it?
Roll call?
Lang,
Aye.
Mencia,
Aye.
Petrielli, aye. Reed,
Aye.
Sager,
Aye.
and Schumacher.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
Do we have a motion for agenda item 8.06?
I can do it. Whereas it is the intent of the Board of Education to transfer on an annual basis 100% of the interest recorded from investments in the debt service fund, and whereas Section 10-22.44 of the school code provides the board has the power to transfer the interest earned from the investment of monies in the debt service fund to the respective fund of the district that is most in need of such interest income as determined by the board. Whereas it is hereby found and determined by the board that the educational fund is most in need of the interest income recorded from the investment of monies of the school district in the debt service fund, and whereas it is in the best interest of the district that the board direct the school treasurer to transfer 100% of said interest income to the educational fund, and whereas the 2021 interest income from the debt service fund has not been earmarked or restricted by the board for any designated purpose, be it resolved that on the 7th of June, 2021, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education, Section 1, hereby finds that all of the recitals contained in the preambles to this resolution are full, true, correct, and does hereby incorporate them into this resolution by reference. Section 2, that the school treasurer of the district be and is hereby directed pursuant to the same section of the school code to transfer 100% of interest recorded from the investment of monies in the debt service fund to the educational fund effective in fiscal year 2021, that all resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith be and the same are hereby repealed, and this resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately and forthwith upon its passage.
I'll second.
Are there any questions or comments? Okay, roll call?
Mencia,
Aye.
Petrielli, aye. Reed,
Aye.
Sager,
Aye.
Schumacher,
Aye.
and Lang.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Action item 8.07, I'll go ahead and take that one, unless, Joe, you want it?
Are you talking about the refresh next?
No,
No.
that's 808 is refresh, we're in 807.
I'd like to comment on that before we vote on it.
Okay. So we'll just wait till we get to that part. So 8.07, whereas the Board of Education of Community Consolidated School District 59, Cook County, Illinois, has therefore created and established a working cash fund in and for the district, and whereas Section 20.5 of the Illinois School Code provides that monies earned as interest from the investment of the working cash fund, or any portion thereof, may be permanently transferred from the working cash fund to another fund of the district that is most in need of the interest, and whereas the 2021 interest income from working cash fund has not been earmarked or restricted by the Board of Education for any designated purposes, and whereas the Board of Education hereby determines that the operations and maintenance fund is the fund that is most in need of the interest income from the working cash fund, and whereas the Board of Education has determined that it is in the best interest of the district that 100% of the 2020-21 interest income from the working cash fund be transferred to the operations and maintenance fund. Now, therefore, resolved by the Board of Education of Community Consolidated School District 59, Cook County, Illinois, as follows. Section 1, Board of Education finds the preambles of this resolution to be true and correct and incorporates the same here within. Section 2, the school treasurer of the district is hereby authorized and directed to permanently transfer 100% of the 2021 interest income from the working cash fund to the operations and maintenance fund to be used for operations and maintenance purposes. Section 3, the resolution shall be enforced and effective upon its adaptation.
Second.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Okay, roll call.
Okay. Secretary, aye. Reed,
Aye.
Sager,
Aye.
Schumacher,
Aye.
Lang,
Aye.
and Mencia.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
We have something to pass out before we work on the next one.
Well, can we get
Pardon me?
can we get a nomination, a motion, and then a second, and then we'll have the discussion?
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
but we'll pass these down.
I'll do the motion. Whereas CCSD established a recommendation for the technology environment moving forward in order to afford students greater opportunities to learn with the technology to prepare them to be successful for life. Now, therefore, be it resolved on the 7th day of June, 2021, the Board of Education of Community Consolidated School District 59 authorizes the implementation of a plan to provide a Chromebook and carrying case for all students in grade 8, K-8, and a Chromebook for all certified staff with a total cost to be determined by final student enrollment and staff FTE.
I'll second.
Okay, so,
Okay, I am so glad, Ben, to see you back. I'm just thrilled, and all of us, I'm sure, are just thrilled to have you back. Unfortunately, the last time we saw you was on a small computer screen when you explained this whole refresh program. And since then, I've been thinking a lot about it. And actually, today, at the curriculum meeting that we had with Maureen, the parents had quite a few things to say about the way that they want their children to be taught. And unfortunately, I've been collecting loads of information about the defects in what we are doing with technology. The technology isn't everything that everybody thinks it should be. It says technology is not making our kids any smarter. Evidence suggests it is having the opposite effect. I am not suggesting that we do not have computers. I am suggesting that it is not necessary for kindergarten and first graders to have computers. And interestingly enough, the one thing that Janice Krinsky and I agreed upon was that at the last time. I cannot believe that when we say we want to get back to the basics, that we're going to have kindergartners with computers. And I can't believe that good kindergarten and first grade teachers can't find many, many ways to teach their children without computers. So I am not going to vote for this, for the kindergarten and first grade. I will obviously go along with it for the remainder of the grades. But I think it's counterproductive to education, counterproductive to what we've been talking about at curriculum meetings and what parents have been saying about the way their children should learn. And I don't believe that we should be spending $398 apiece on computers for kindergarten and first graders.
So Mardell, I appreciate your opinion and I respectfully differ, because if the kindergarten and first graders do not have these devices and we somehow end up in a remote situation, whether it's because a strain of the coronavirus breaks out or mitigation strategies are not effective, we'd be in a situation where those students would not have access to education. And so I'm not willing to vote for a situation where those children would be left without an option for their education. Having experienced with my own child the previous device for K1, which was a tablet, I appreciate Ben taking into account the parent feedback, because I have found the Chromebook to be extremely user-friendly as opposed to the tablet. So I'm happy that we've made the shift in K1 from the tablet to the Chromebook. And I guess the further point I would make is I agree with you that I don't want our kindergartners and first graders on the device all day long, but I do think as part of learning in this era, I would argue it is a critical part of learning. So I would like them to have access to it. And I also think our teachers have juggled so much this year. I'm very supportive of the fact that our teachers will also receive a Chromebook and be able to see exactly what their kids are doing, because I think it'll lead to more effective teaching. So I am very supportive of this and grateful that we have the ESSER funds to put towards it.
I do not object to giving our teachers who are going to be having students using the computers. That part doesn't bother me. Could you?
I do actually, but the thing is, thinking about if something does put us back in a pandemic mode, that would be my support for it. I had an idea that we could have a lab for the kindergarten and first grade kids. I thought that would be a great idea, because they could go down there, they wouldn't be sitting in front of a computer screen the entire time, and it would still give them the exposure. But if we run into this situation again, there you go with your kindergarten and first grade kids with no technology. So that is my one concern. The teacher part was never in doubt for me, because I've seen teachers try and struggle between doing on their Mac as well as trying to figure out what the kids are doing on their Chromebook. So they need the Chromebook. But my original thought, I don't think will hold. And I hate to think that we're going to have to worry about something like that happening again, but having been through it, the possibilities, you need to be prepared. So I changed my thinking. If we were in a normal pre-pandemic, I'd be like, computer lab, that's what they need, because then they can still do their regular stuff with exposure to technology, because it's not going away. But if we get stuck in that, trying to get computers for kindergarten and first graders, I think would be like daunting at best.
Frankly, we used to have all computer labs. That was the way we worked, with computer labs, before we went to this business of taking and having every child have it and take it home. The repair bill, Brian, do you have what the repair bill was just for the, I haven't had it and I don't know what I did with it here, but it's thousands and thousands of dollars for our repairs. Unbelievable. The kids do not take good care of their computers, and we are constantly repairing them, either in-house or having them sent out. And just because we may have had a pandemic this year doesn't mean we're going to have it again next year. And even if we do, kindergarten and first graders can be given things like they are being given for the summer now. There's plenty of things you can do for them besides having them sit in front of a computer, which I don't think is healthy for them at all. Mm-hmm. Plus, I think it's a complete waste of money. But I am more than willing to go along with some type of a compromise with labs or something like that, so that they would still be introduced to the computers, but not be working on them all the day and not dragging them back and forth home.
If I could comment too, kind of along the lines aligned with Courtney, the computers and technology are not a substitute for the teacher in the classroom. It's a supplement to the educational experience of these kids. And, you know, we have signs all over this building that say we need to prepare them to be successful for life. And outside of the four walls of those schools, those computers and that technology is everywhere. And we need to know, or we need to make sure that once they graduate and they go to high school, that they are able to adapt and use that technology that's going to be, you know, in front of them in high school and in front of them in college. And yes, they do break. Adults break their technology too. I break my phone constantly. But the little kids, first grade, kindergarten, and I have a first grader, can do amazing things with their tablets, taking videos, editing videos, sharing, things that I can't do. But like I said, it's a supplement. It's not a substitution to the teacher in that classroom. But I am supportive of it.
Can I just make one statement as well? As far as kindergarten and first graders having devices, they shouldn't obviously be spending all their time on devices, but there is a matter of equity. Not all of our students are going to have access to computers at home, and by not having that access early in life, just learning basics, they will be set back relative to their peers. And so I feel it's an equity issue. Our school has a job of providing the basics needed, and computers are one of those basics. Now, the balance between curriculum, do they spend time on the computers versus do they spend time on books? That has to be a focus of the curriculum side of things, but I think it's a baseline standard that people have access to computers nowadays.
Then you would say that they should have access to the computers, but could we do it with labs so that we wouldn't have to spend this much money for each and every kindergarten and first grade child, and they wouldn't have to be with them all day long. They could go into the labs at whatever time the teacher would suggest, because that would certainly give them plenty of time. And as far as Robert's point, if we want to make sure that they're ready, they're still going to have 7 full years in our district with computers. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grades.
I would weigh in and reinforce what Dr. Sager is saying, that equity gap builds when kids don't have access at home. And that's why we've also invested in internet access for our students as well, so they can have those rich experiences. We've never said that computers make kids smarter. That isn't our intent. Computers are a tool to access resources, and how we teach kids to use those resources is critical. Just like how we teach them how to use a book. If that resource isn't utilized correctly, it's not going to make kids smarter either. So equity is a significant part. When 60% of our families are in a low SES or low economic status, these resources are critical. And as many of you know, and you've approved many of the measures this year for our new curriculum, a lot of that is hardbound, but some of it is still accessible via the internet and via the computer. So it becomes a critical tool and access, and as Joe said, for equity for all of our students, so that gap doesn't broaden when kids don't have these experiences at home. I do agree, Mardell, that we need to continue to really work on responsible usership, viewer time, educating not only our kids, but our parents as well, in terms of making sure that they're not just in front of, whether it's their whatever device it is, that we're doing a good job in responsible usership as well.
Well, I don't agree. So I think as far as equity is concerned, you have to have equity for the taxpayers too, and I don't think that it's necessary for taxpayers to have to pay this. And I don't think the kids take good enough care of it. And I just heard recently that what we spent considerable money for, and thank golly we didn't spend the whole $500,000 that you originally wanted for those microphone systems and whatever, that the teachers aren't even using them hardly at all. So that came up as a $500,000 project when you first introduced it, and then we got it down to supposedly only the people who wanted them. And now if they're not using them again, that's another one of these technological giveaways that isn't really necessary.
Well, just to clarify, that was a COVID-related decision, period, that we wouldn't have otherwise pursued that, and that was to enhance the teaching and learning experience for our students and staff, and that was why we used some ESSER dollars to pay for that COVID-related expense.
I know it came out of ESSER, but that's not the issue. The issue is we shouldn't be spending money on things that we don't actually need. And I think the taxpayers have been very good to us, considering we've had to have 3 bond issues as it was. So I just think we should be more careful, and I don't honestly think that kindergartners, especially kindergartens, I probably go along with first graders, but not kindergartners. They shouldn't even have computers at all. There's so many things that a kindergartner has to learn without a computer.
So I'm in support of this motion for the K through 8 basically don't want to repeat what other people said, but I've been agreeing with it. So just to let you know, Mardell, this is a vote. The motion is for K through 8.
Take your mask off, I can't understand your darn.
It's a motion for K through 8. Okay, that's what this motion is. So if you don't feel that kindergartners should get the thing, you will vote no, I'm assuming.
Well, that's what I'll have to do, but I
Okay.
wanted to make sure that you all understood that really, it isn't a necessity for kindergartners to have it. It might be fine and fun and whatever, but it's not a necessity. We could have labs, as Patty suggested, so that they would still have the availability of them, or we could just eliminate kindergarten. And in any one of those cases, we would be saving a lot of money, because this is a very expensive project.
So we had a motion and a second, correct? Is there any discussion on this then? Okay, roll call.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Action item 8.09. Sorry, I can't read it.
Junior high math resource.
A junior high math resource.
Whereas the Board of Education discussed junior high math resources on the 10th day of May 2021, be it resolved that on the 7th day of June 2021, the Phoenix Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education purchased the following math resources for grades 6 through 8 for the 2021-2022 school year. Illustrative math student license, 1 year, $19 per student, 2,000 students, purchased from Learn Zillion Platform, $38,000. Illustrative math professional learning, $36,000 premium package, 50 participants, Learn Zillion Platform training, 750, 40 participants, $36,750. Illustrative math teacher edition, $50 per teacher, $1,500. Student printed materials, $2,000, $10 per student, $20,000. Total, $96,250.
I'll make the second. Comments, questions? I think the thing to note about this is it's just a 1 year. Well, when we purchased for the K through 5, that was a 2-year purchase. This is just going to be a 1-year purchase, so we can give the staff the time to truly evaluate it and make decisions.
And Maureen, we've set up a group of teachers who are going to be taking input from all the schools and looking at, is it meeting the needs that we have?
Correct. We have an elementary implementation team and junior high. Exactly. And the junior high teachers were comfortable moving forward, but we're just had a few wanted to be able to see it, live it out, and still have that option then to, if they don't feel like it's working, have the opportunity that elementary had to research and evaluate. But they were comfortable going forward with a 1-year commitment to illustrative math.
Yeah, especially,
Yes, all the, each junior high will have representatives to speak for their teachers.
Each junior high will, and they will be in elementary as well, teacher reps. So our coaches will be involved, our admin will be involved, but for the feedback sessions that we want to have, we will have classroom teachers identified, so people who are using it every day.
right, because at the junior high level, it's different, it's not all 7th graders take the same thing, right? So we're going to have different
That's a good
levels
point. Yes, we'll make sure
giving
we
their
have the
feedback.
levels represented. That's a great point, Joe.
Okay. And then I just also wanted us to note that this is a big deal for us in terms of curriculum, and so the board needs to be sure we follow up on making sure that implementation goes well over the summer here, and then we start looking at data coming to us in performance, student performance. So we need to monitor implementation and student performance long-term. But otherwise, I think it's a good plan.
Roll call.
Anthea?
Aye.
Jerry, aye. Reed?
Aye.
Strager?
Aye?
Schumacher?
Aye.
And Lyman?
Aye.
And the motion passed.
Action item 8.10, donation to Brentwood Elementary.
This one. Be it resolved that on the 7th day of June 2021, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education approves the Western Governors University donation of Brentwood Elementary School in the amount of $800. This donation will be used to fund an innovative classroom initiative. Be it further resolved that the superintendent shall communicate to Dr. Terrence Hobson at Western Governors University in writing, expressing the appreciation of the members of the Board of Education, and that this donation shall be listed in the official minutes of this meeting.
I'll second it.
Any questions or comments? Roll call. Aye.
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 Aye. I can make the motion on 811.
811. I'll second it.
Okay. Whereas the memorandum of understanding represents an agreement between the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education and the District 59 Education Association regarding additional uses options for Cameo staff who have surplus vacation days due to COVID-19 as defined in the memorandum of understanding attached to the motion. Therefore, be it resolved that on the 7th day of June 2021, the board approves the memorandum of understanding COVID-19 surplus vacation days Cameo. This MOU will be effective upon approval of the board and expire August 2nd, 2021.
So just to be clear, we're just giving the Cameo staff, our custodials and stuff like that, an extra month to take vacation days from this fiscal year. They have worked tirelessly and have been in our schools and have been a true leader of our group to get us through this pandemic and keep our numbers low so we can keep our schools open. And we're thankful for that, and hopefully they will be able to take their vacations that they have so richly deserved.
Well said.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Roll call. Aye.
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 All right. 9.0, special interest topics, the employer request. We get to hear from Ross for a second time today.
Good evening. The district has received 3 FOIA requests since the last report to the Board of Education. We have appropriately responded to 2 of those requests, and we are still currently processing a 3rd.
Uh, 9.02, you, Ron?
Yes, so the district in years past have passed 2 administrative procedures related to their bonds, debt issuances. So the documents below, they will show our compliance checklist that we are following in term with them, as well as the bond disclosure policies being followed in tandem with William Blair, who is our attorney/bond counsel, so we work with them pretty closely. So this is just making sure there's no need for board action on it, but just the documentation that we show that we are being transparent as our checklists are to be taken care of.
Thank you. Item 10.0, new and continuing business and announcements. Let's start with the community assignments and process. This is where all the fun stuff happens.
What did you say we're starting with? Oh,
So we've essentially all signed up for, I think, the positions that we're interested in on the various committees. Is there any further discussion we need to have related to this?
And quick comment clarification, are we still going to operate with the Zoom model for the committees as things start to open up? I don't know. My only experience with committees since I've been on the board has been Zoom and virtual. I don't know what it's like pre.
I know.
What is your fear? I couldn't understand your. You like or you don't like the Zoom?
I kind of like coming in.
I do too. I think it's nicer when you can actually sit with the people you're talking with and discuss things. Possibly in the middle of winter, it would be all right, but.
I agree coming in, but I work during the day, so it's hard.
Yeah, I know, it's difficult for you.
I think it is nice because community members are able to attend the meetings easier when we have the Zoom option available, so I think we should continue that availability. I think what we've done over the last couple of years of making our meetings more open to the public for transparency purposes is a great thing, and I think continuing the Zoom option is a good thing. But I also encourage you to come in and let the staff see you once in a while, if you can make it in.
Yeah, I like the idea personally of having both options because the admin knows that I have dragged my kids to meetings here before. And so it would be nice to have the option when childcare is not available to Zoom or when it is available to come in person.
Today, Maureen had a curriculum meeting, which is the continuing curriculum meeting that has been going on right along. We used to meet at the administration center, and we all sat around and talked, and we got to know each other. There were a lot of parents there. There were more parents there than there were anybody else. Patty and Maureen and I and Nicole were the only ones other than the parents. They had a lot of suggestions. A lot of the things that I referred to in my comments recently about the computer and so forth are things that they have spoken about and so forth. They're very interested in their children. They're very interested in coming to the meetings. And I have sad news to tell you. One of the persons on that committee meeting who I actually called today to try to get into the link is in the hospital, and that's Judy Cox. She's not doing very well. So that's somebody who has been a very dedicated and good participant in our things, and she's in the hospital at the moment, so. I guess, Robert, I think it's fine for any of us when we cannot get to the meeting for whatever reason might be. If the meeting is still here and you want to come in from your office or whatever, there's no reason why you couldn't come in on Zoom.
I just like that flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
If it's between me being able to attend the meeting because it's on Zoom, or something else, or getting movement, I'd rather the option to be able to attend the meeting no matter how long.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think that brings up a great point. I think we need to make sure these meetings are scheduled far enough in advance so people can have time to make their proper arrangements to be available. So that kind of goes out to the SLT team members to make sure you get those scheduled and let the board members know as soon as possible. We'd appreciate that. Any other questions or comments about the committees? Mardell, you emailed me today about the start time for board meetings.
About the what?
You sent me an email today about the start time for board meetings.
I can't understand you with that mask
You
on.
emailed me today about the start time for board meetings.
Start time for board meetings?
Say it again.
The start time for board meetings.
Oh, the start time for board meetings, yes. Interestingly enough, at the last meeting, when you said, what time did we used to meet? And I said, well, did we always meet at 7 o'clock? I said, yes, forever, we always met at 7 o'clock. Well, we then put it to a vote, and supposedly we were going to meet at 6 o'clock. When I knew that I had a curriculum meeting this afternoon and I wouldn't even be able to make it by 6 o'clock, I thought I better look at the packet, and I was so pleased to see that it said 7 o'clock. In the meantime, I'm sure there are some people who would prefer to come at 6 o'clock, but there are people in the community who have already expressed to me since the last meeting that it doesn't give them enough time when they get home from work to get supper and take care of the family before they either go to Zoom or come to the meetings. Secondly, if we are going to vote on that, it should be something that should be discussed at one meeting and voted on at the next meeting. We can't just, somebody come up with an idea and then we vote on it at a meeting, and that's not the way parliamentary procedure works.
Mardell, we were talking about approving the board calendar. This came up as part of the board calendar discussion in the main
I
meeting.
just cannot hear you from,
Mardell, I'm talking to the microphone. I mean,
well,
so basically, this came up in our discussion and our approval of the board agenda for next year. So these meetings will not start until in July till 6 o'clock. We, as a board, it was suggested by me to move it to 6 o'clock because we have parents and we have our meetings seem to go long, and we also have, in honor of to respect our SLT members who have been at this ad building all day and don't go home before these meetings are staying later, that it would be best that we move it to 6 o'clock, and the majority of the board agreed upon moving to 6 o'clock. I understand that this may find it hard for some community members to make it that time. it'll be harder, it's harder for me to make it this time, but in the long run, I think it's better for us as a board to start at 6 o'clock.
I'm not saying we shouldn't vote on it, and I'm not saying that there might not be a majority on the board who might vote for it, but it's not the way we do it. We talk about it, and then we vote on it the following meeting. It should have been on the agenda, because that's a major change.
It was on the agenda as a discussion item, as an agenda to approve the board meeting dates, and
Well,
it was
whatever.
an
I'm
agenda
just telling you
item,
what I know.
a discussion item, and it was an agenda item, an action item the next month.
I never saw it as an agenda item to change it.
It was part of the discussion item from the April meeting. I can pull it up about the board calendar. Because this is part of the board calendar time setting.
You're the president, I'm not.
So are we still, I mean, since Martell's brought this up, are we still okay with the 6 o'clock? Okay.
So one other piece, just for the new board members, in terms of the review of board policy. You know, the practice that we've been utilizing, and that may change with the new superintendent, is that the board secretary, Cindy Pullen, will share any changes to the policy with the full board and a timeline for the board to read through those and ask any questions or make any suggestions, and then the appropriate person from the superintendent leadership team will respond back with the response. So we'll have a back and forth prior to then a discussion at a board meeting, and then in the following board meeting, the board will take action. So we'll have preliminary review and feedback, discussion at a board meeting, and then at a subsequent
That's
board
the way it's
meeting, we'll have
supposed to
board
be,
action.
Art. That's good, that's parliamentary procedure.
Just wanted to make sure our new board members were aware of that process for board policy review.
Okay, action item, any other new and competing business or announcements? Section 11.0, reports of the Board of Education.
I have some. The two things to note. This month, Daisy, who's not here, participated in the Bilingual Parents Advisory Committee meeting that was held. It was on Zoom. Grisela hosted the meeting. We had a couple parents. It was in Spanish only, just to talk about the concerns of our Spanish-speaking parents. Very productive meeting. When we look at how we can get more of our Spanish-speaking population involved, basically the results of the meeting were, we'd like to come to a board meeting like this, but we don't understand what's being said. How do we communicate more effectively with that community? How do we get them more involved? And a big takeaway was, we've never gone to the ad building before. We don't, there could be a discomfort in coming, for the very first time. What can we do as a district to bring our events locally to where they are, to where that community exists? But it was a very good meeting, and it was very productive, and it was supposed to be an hour, and we could have gone for double that time. So very good. So that was a good meeting. Also, too, I wanted to give a big tip of the hat to Principal Mark Razor at Holmes. Daisy and I also participated, along with Dr. Fessler, at the graduation ceremony. It was a cloudy day. We had a little bit of rain. Principal Mark was very prepared, and he managed to adjust the agenda for the day to make sure the kids walked across the stage first before the clouds rolled in and the wind and the rain came shortly after. But we managed to get the most important part of the ceremony done. So congratulations to Principal Mark and all the graduates of all of our junior highs.
Just like to comment on something that you said, because after the meeting last time, I had never met Daisy, and she came out to the desk where I was and introduced herself, and we spoke for a few minutes about how we might work together to try to teach the Hispanic parents how to speak English so that they can help their children with homework, because that has what has been spoken of by them at various meetings that we've had over the years, that they want to know how they can help their children. So that is something that maybe you and Daisy and I might be able to work on a little bit and come up with some kind of a plan.
I just have a couple of reports as well. I've continued to participate in the Juliet Low social justice conversations, which have happened monthly on Tuesday evenings. The last one is tomorrow night from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. They've been primarily led by 2 parents within the school, and just an excellent opportunity. This next one tomorrow night is focused on what can we do as like next steps to implement some of the things that we've talked about, but it's been a very productive conversation with a combination of parents, staff members, some administration at the school as well. And lastly, this will not be a full speech, but I just wanted to give my thanks to both Maureen and Art in light of this being our last traditional board meeting. I plan to share with each of you more extensively, like my personal thoughts, but I just thank you for both of you what was devoted, incredible service to our district.
I'd like to second that, because not only are we losing our superintendent and our assistant superintendent, but we're losing 3 principals. And they've all been here for many years. I mean, how many years have you been here now? 23. That's a long time, and 8 for you and Rob Ohanic and Susan Dima and Mary Ellen Esser, quite a long time. And you've all been a wonderful asset to our district, and I appreciated working with the 2 of you since you're here. Because I didn't really work with the others, but I did work with the 2 of you, so I enjoyed my time with you. Good luck.
Maureen, one of my fondest memories of you is my daughter, Josie, loved you. And when she found out you were leaving Rupley, she was devastated.
She kindergarten, right?
Yep. Yep.
And you didn't have her on a computer, did you? No.
She was devastated.
She turned out all right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I will always take that with me, because she was like, my favorite principal is leaving. She was very heartbroken. So I forgot to tell her you were retiring. I got to tell her. But also, oh, God, please, I don't want to say how old she is. So also, I would like to thank John Harrington, because we caught the rain. And so, Maureen, you were there with me. The instruments were covered and taken away. All the different things were broken down.
Oh, you couldn't even have the orchestra play?
No.
Oh.
No, what we did have, which was the most important part to us, was the kids being able to walk across, get their diplomas, and them being able to give their speeches. So, the student speeches. That was the most important part.
Yeah.
So John contacted me for my speech. We were going to mail ours out to the kids, email them to the kids, or I believe, instead, so they could still hear our words, but they got to speak their piece as well.
So you didn't actually get to give your speech then?
Nope, did not, but John has it. So.
Oh. That weather was not good. Oh.
No, it was not. It was not. But the kids, I was watching the kids, and they're getting their pictures taken, and Bill Stevens kept telling them, you can take your mask down, and they're just like,
Yeah.
keep their mask on, get their pictures taken, and we'll get their diploma and walk on. But it was an interesting end to an interesting year.
Well, the friendship one was the first one, and we managed not to have rain.
Yeah,
And
that was a
Art
mistake.
and Tom and Ross, I think, and I don't know who all was there, because everybody didn't come up and let me know who was there. But there were a lot of people there from the administration, and it was a wonderful graduation, and the principal, Mr. Murphy, did a terrific job. And the kids were so well behaved. I was just amazed how well behaved they were. It was a good night.
Yeah, I did attend that. I kind of hid in the back because I was in the shorts and a T-shirt because my daughter's softball game ended. And I was at the Grove High School, so I stopped, poked my head in, and
Well, I couldn't introduce you if you were hiding in the back.
I didn't want to be. I didn't want the way I was dressed. I didn't want to be introduced. But it was great to see the students getting their diplomas and getting the awards they richly deserved. And you know, Robert got to save his speech till next year, I think, too, because he wasn't able to give a speech either. So some speeches are already prepared for next year. So I'm glad the graduations got off and got completed. That was a big accomplishment. I think that was something that we should be proud of in this district. We were able to do that. Thank you to the high schools for allowing us to use their facilities. So that that was 2 great days of awards. I do want to say thank you to Maureen, too. My daughter was 3 years old when I introduced myself to Maureen. For those of you that don't know, Maureen started the dual language program in the district. I read in a little article in the district newsletter that she was starting and looking for volunteers, and I just showed up and was welcomed into the group, and look what's led to me now. So thank you, Maureen, for being my daughter's principal for so many years, introducing the dual language, introducing a world to them that I couldn't introduce to them. I appreciate that. Dr. Fessler, thank you for everything. Sharon's speech did a really good job summing up everything you did, but I mean, you have full day kindergarten, I don't think was listed. I don't think the expansion of the dual language program throughout the district was not mentioned. So I think, thank you for everything that you've done. Yeah. Any other reports from the Board of Education? Okay.
I have a quick one. I've attended 3 NSSEO governing board meetings since I started, so it's been a busy month. They completed adopting the budget because all the different districts have adopted their budget as we did at the first meeting I was at. They are going to have a groundbreaking for a gym at the Timber Ridge facility, which is K through 8 students who are working on sort of calming themselves down enough that they can get back into our district. And so they never had a gym facility there. They only ever had a multi-purpose room. So for those kids, it's going to be very important. They don't directly raise their own funds. They get their money through the tuition. So every time we see tuition in our 10 fund, that's going towards NSSEO. So they have to save up their money over time to spend on things like that. And Judy Hackett was really nice. She put together a tour for myself and another new board member of Timber Ridge and Minor School. We did that the day before graduation, so all the students were there. And she said she'll make sure that she arranges similar things in the fall for other facilities. I really encourage, and I was sorry it was such short notice. I sent out an invitation. We couldn't arrange for another board member to attend, but we'll see if we can get other board members to go in the future. It really gives you a chance to see how good a job they do caring for our students who are put into their care to help them along. And it's a critically important part of education for those students and their families. They also have a new podcast by one of their staff members called Coach Me If You Can, where it's one of the professional learning development teams. So they don't just take students to NSSEO schools and teach them there. They also have coaches who come out to our schools and work with our teachers to improve them improve their skills in various ways in dealing with IEPs and that sort of thing. I also attended the Behavioral Interventions Committee back early May, and I just wanted to note that one. They're working on improving, I don't think I've seen it in any weekly reports or anything. They're working on improving coding for various behavioral violations to make sure that all the buildings are consistent with one another throughout the district. So it's part of getting that data to the point where it's really useful seeing the whole picture across the district. And I thought that should be brought up. All right. What did food truck report was, there were churros at Bird. Hold on. But so PTOs, keep that up because I will go to the food trucks. There were tacos and shaved ice at Devonshire with an outdoor book fair and a pizza truck at Juliet Low. It was wonderful.
Very good. I have something I forgot to tell you about. I got a phone call, it's almost a month ago now, from a married son of somebody who lives over by Heritage Park and Juliet Low School. And his complaint was that while he was visiting, things were going on across the street, so he went across the street to check on it, and it turned out there was a couple in the back seat, and the guy crawled out the window of the car in his shorts, and et cetera, et cetera. He called the police, it took care of it, we didn't have to worry about it. Then later there was a lot of noise going on, and they were playing basketball at 11 o'clock at night. And he was upset about that. Then he walked his dog, and the dog pooped, so we had to put the poop in the can, and it was filled with beer cans and vodka, beer bottles and vodka bottles in the garbage cans. The point is that he's not happy with what the way the park is being taken care of. He doesn't think the lights should be on so long. I spoke with my president, and I talked with Art through Tom, and I talked with Ron and Albert, and Albert in the meantime has worked on it and contacted the Park District. I thought Albert might be here, but since he's not, I'll explain to you. He said that it is not our responsibility to turn the lights on or off. They belong to Heritage Park. So that is a problem that we're going to have to try to deal with the Park District, because apparently 11 o'clock is just too late. Too much is going on. But Albert is working on it, so the committee will work on it, and we'll see what else we can do about it.
And then, but one thing that we can do to help that is, though, we will have cameras that will be monitored. We're working on getting a project going with cameras that can monitor.
The new cameras will help as well.
Yeah.
We're on a project to have cameras
Oh,
throughout.
the cameras, you're right.
Yes, so that'll
But
hopefully,
the police were called out twice. It wasn't that
Right.
they weren't taken care of, but the point is, if we have cameras, that's wonderful, but it's not going to deter them if they can
Right.
play around until 11 o'clock at night.
but then the police will have access to those cameras
Yeah.
and can follow up
Correct.
on what they find in the cameras too, if they're parked in our parking lots or if they appear on our
Correct.
cameras. So I think this is a job of conjunction, working with Albert and the Park Districts to resolve this issue. So,
Well, Albert's working on it.
yeah. And you want to mention Memorial Day, Mardell?
Pardon me?
You want to mention Memorial Day?
Memorial Day? The Memorial Day?
Yes. Memorial Day I go to every year in Elk Grove Village because they invite, well, even if they didn't invite, I used to go to Memorial Day, but in the last, 10 years or so, they have been inviting board members who live in Elk Grove Village. So Brandy and I were both there. We were both invited. We were there. I don't know if you were invited or not.
I wasn't on the board yet. Nobody sent that
Okay,
invitation.
all right. So next year you can count on that. It's very, very nice. In the first place, the memorial service is terrific. It's held inside the gym at the Park District, and it's a wonderful, wonderful service. Chris Prochnow has been working on this for years, and she's worked out a program explaining exactly what all the folds of the flag are and so forth. And the police and fire department are there, the color guard, the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and so forth. And there's usually music from the Baptist church. They weren't there this year. And then there's goodies from Jerash. So it's a lovely, lovely day. And anybody who wants to come, I'm sure, would be welcome, if whether you're from Elk Grove or not. But it's basically the Elk Grove's Memorial Day service. Thank you. I didn't realize I'd been so busy. And the other thing, I don't,
so we have,
nobody's mentioned it, we've had two former board members with us tonight. Sharon and Karen. This is very, very nice.
All right. Superintendent reports.
Yeah, a couple of reports. I would start with the dual language program evaluation update. Maureen?
Sure, I just wanted to be able to expand a little bit on what I've been sharing in the weekly update. So actually, for several years now, we've been talking about, since our program now is at the 8-9 year mark, and when we started it, it was cutting edge, as Randy knows, because he was on the committee too. So we really felt like it was a good time for some evaluation, taking a look at how our students are doing, taking a look at resources, curriculum, structures. We were talking about it and even looking into potential partners, and then COVID came. So we paused on that. And now more than ever, we feel like it could be good timing, because we really want to get a careful assessment. Where are our students at? What do they need? So we are still in discussion with an external agency that's called Adelante. It's a local agency owned by a former dual language educator and actually district dual language administrator. She owns the company. And I wanted to bring it up just to highlight a few things. I think it ties back to what Robert was saying about the Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee, because part of this evaluation will be interviews, parent interviews, teacher interviews, admin interviews, visiting classrooms, and the like, and analyzing student data, of course, looking at resources and curriculum. And then they will present a written report and recommendation, and they would be willing to come to the board to make that recommendation. So I just wanted to expand a little bit on it. The timeline we're looking at, we're still in conversations, would be really from September through the end of December, would be when they would do that work, those interviews, that data analysis. And then so probably like end of December, January would be the report out, so that there is time to then take some action steps with that. Really, that report would include program improvement, curriculum, instruction, assessment, and one category I saw was family engagement. So that will be a part of it, staffing, resources, and then potential grant funding sources. We are talking about also, because there is a cost to this, we're working out the number of days and waiting for the final quote, but we did talk about the potential of using some of the new federal dollars, given that we do expect that a lot of our dual language students have experienced that learning loss, and the timing would be just perfect to see what do they need from here on out. So we're looking at that as well, and I will share the details and the quote when we get it. But I wanted to be able to just share a little bit more information about what that looks like, or what we're hoping that will look like. And really just timing-wise, it's just good timing to take a look, and having some external partners is always helpful to be able to get, that objective opinion. So more to come on that.
Thank you, Maureen. I'd just like to make one comment. I think that concludes our reports, but I'd like to make one comment, closing comment. Since this is my last official business meeting with the Board of Education, I'd like to thank the board for this amazing opportunity to work here for the last 8 years. Mardell's the only one remaining on the board that was part of the board when I was hired, but I'd like to thank Sharon and Karen for showing up tonight. I know we worked many years together and really tried to implement a vision for teaching and learning that matched our mission statement, which is preparing students to be successful for life. One of the books that we read, and I think many of the new board members or current board members has read as well, was a book by Tony Wagner called The Global Achievement Gap. And he begins the book by saying that education hasn't changed much in the last 200 years. And he cites the fact that that's largely because teachers emulate their favorite teachers, who emulate their favorite teachers before them, and it goes back to the beginning of education. Well, I like to think that we moved the needle in District 59, that we've done a lot of amazing things. I know personally I've learned a lot of very good lessons, none better than the one that change is difficult. And, I thank the staff, I think an amazing leadership team for your support, for your hard work, and trying to do really what we thought was best for kids, and really teaching learning through application of skill, knowledge, and content versus repetition. And, I'm proud of that work. I'll absolutely miss all the people here, the relationships that I've developed with the folks here, throughout the community. I do believe that I'm leaving behind me a very, very capable board. I really have appreciated the chemistry that you guys have quickly developed and showed, and it's clear that your focus is student-first focus, and I applaud that. And I think it's going to take the district to a great place. To the leadership team, I've said this many times, I think the SLT team that we have in place is one of the best that I've ever worked with, certainly the best I've ever assembled, and I know that you guys will continue to provide great leadership and oversight. And, as I thought when I started here, the teachers in District 59 are kid-centered teachers, and will do whatever it takes to care for and to teach our students to be their best, and ultimately prepare them to be successful for life. And then I think Dr. Bresnahan is going to do an amazing job picking up, cleaning up some of the mess that I've created, and doing great things. So again, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And I just can't leave without saying, Sarah, I can't believe you made it all the way to the end this time and got the big prize, but congratulations. I'm so pleased, so proud of you.
All right. Can I make a motion for us to go into closed session? I can do it. Be it resolved that on the 7th day of June 2021, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education recess in a closed meeting for discussion of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, and dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on the complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to local government wage increased transparency act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with this act.
I'll second it. Yeah. Think about that, 9/11.
Oh, jeez.
That's remarkable. We don't usually get out of here till 11.
Roll call, please.
Aye.